Between 500 and 600 workers a year are killed in this province. We've had labor legislation, we've had safety regulations for so long, and we're still having these people killed on the job. Something is not right. We're going to talk about that today. My guest is Ken Hicks, who's the president of the Workplace Safety Group. Ken, welcome.
Thank you.
You're heavily involved in this industry. Why do we still have 500 to 600 people killed?
Interesting question. Probably because there is a lack of knowledge on managers and employers understanding what their responsibilities are. There is definitely a lack of caring. For example, the scaffolding accident that happened Christmas Eve 2009, where a number of people were killed. These folks were brand new to the country. The employer has been charged under 3 charges of criminal code of negligence and death, and 61 charges on the Provincial Offences Act. They have just been found guilty on those charges. Sentencing is pending any time now. What we have discovered, what my experience has been over 9 years, we're in our 9th year doing this business, is that a very large percentage of companies out there just simply don't know what they're supposed to be doing. And there's also a pretty fair number of people that just don't care.
So on the one count, do we have the laws that we need?
We're getting there.
Okay.
It takes time.
Yeah.
If you think, for example, 2 years ago, we introduced Bill 168, which was recognizing workplace violence and harassment as an occupational hazard. It had never been in our law books before. That bill in itself has made a big change in understanding and knowledge. People will tend to respond to compliance requirements. That is, the law says you must do this, then they'll do it. On their own, they're busy running their business, they're trying to take care of everything. I've talked to people who do new house construction, and I say, don't you worry about the guys up on the roof who aren't wearing fall arrest equipment, which is legally required. You know what? I pray every night, I go out and I yell at them every day, but I have to be careful because I can't replace a good framing crew that easily.
Really?
And I say, you know what? I'm going to pray for you too. And I pray for every one of those guys. I have a tendency to stop when I see that, and I'll ask for the supervisor, and I'll ask them, do you have fall arrest equipment? Would you come down off the roof, bring your guys down, get hooked up and be safe? And if they won't respond to me in a positive direction, I just phone the Ministry of Labor and they'll come out about 20 minutes later and they'll get them enforced.
Did you know, I wonder about this, let's call it the underground economy in the region. There are people getting houses built sort of under the table, and I'd hate to think of the safety standards there.
Some of the organizations that we work with are absolutely excellent. Habitat for Humanity here has a very strong safety rule. When they're building a house and a volunteer says, well, I've done roofing before, I'll go up and do the roofing. No, you won't. Only qualified trained people will. We do a huge amount of online and in-class training, helping to bring people up to compliance, to competent compliance. And that's what they're looking for today.
Traditionally we think of death and injury in the construction industry, but there are a lot more workplaces than construction.
All kinds of industries. Healthcare, we had SARS hit, we had a number of people died as an occupational hazard. Ministry of Labor had never been into the healthcare industry before. They had a point in time where they were restricted as to where they could go to do what they call proactive investigations. They're just putting on their blue hat, coming in, talking to the health and safety people, making sure things are in order. After SARS happened in 2009, they were given the permission by the Minister of Labor at that time to be able to go anywhere they felt they needed to go. And they are finding a lot of issues these days. And that's good, it's proactive. I read an article recently. It was, I think it was a Twitter. We had a change that said, there was a new program came out through the Ministry of Labor in Ontario with a recommended 5-step program for managers and supervisors to learn their responsibilities. And one of the comments someone put in, oh, it's just another government thing, you know, people won't pay attention to it. Well, I responded back and I said, if it makes the difference to save one person, to help one person go home at the end of the day whole and healthy. If it saves one minor injury, it's all worth it.
Well, and this, I mean, I do want to say this, even though we shouldn't have to say it. When that person who's not a qualified roofer falls off the roof, he has maybe a wife and children, maybe children he's paying post-secondary schooling for. Maybe he's the only income earner of that family. And frankly, and I'm generalizing here, many of them can come from other countries and need the work and maybe not understand our culture that well.
Absolutely. And just a real simple example, a 19-year-old boy was up on the front edge overhang of a building helping shovel off snow, fell off and broke his neck.
Wow.
We had a young high school student in a Catholic school in Ottawa. His instructor, his shop teacher, was showing them how to cut open 45-gallon drums to make barbecues. Part of the process is you purge those drums. Did you know that coconut oil inside a drum, the fumes are explosive?
Really?
It killed that young man.
No kidding.
And hurt a few other kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of really good organizations are very, very conscientious about health and safety. And we love talking to those folks. We encourage those folks.
Ken, what about the homeowners in the region, not the employers, the homeowners who bring in people to put on a roof or put windows
They
in?
can be held accountable. Seldom does it go through because just the lack of business understanding of it. There have been cases where a business person or contractor has hired someone to do 2 or 3 houses to do roofs, and one of the persons fell off and died, and he was held accountable for it.
Mm.
It's pretty hard to take someone who doesn't understand what the laws or have a requirement to understand the laws. You take your 90-year-old grandfather or father and he needs a new roof, so he hires the cheapest guy. He doesn't know. He can't really be held accountable for
Yes.
that. What the in regards to the underground economy, one of the things the Ministry of Labor is doing, they would love to catch all these guys, but there's so many guys with a pickup truck and a couple cousins they pay under the table and undercut the guys, professional companies that pay their WSIB premiums, make sure their employees are trained and properly equipped, that their vehicles are inspected and looked after. That's who they're competing against. So what the provincial government does is they go after the larger contractors who do subcontracting. They make sure that they have the proper documentation for WSIB compliance, that their training programs are being done, that the policies and procedures are enforced and are being monitored. That's one way that we're finding is a very good way that the government has responded to this underground economy.
I can already hear managers out there saying, well, all right, that's the law, but there are no inspectors around anymore.
Oh, there are. We have about 600 inspectors who are knocking on doors all over the place. Mm-hmm. I've talked to people and they said, oh, no, we're fine. And then 3 days later they phone me and say, did you phone the Ministry of Labor on us? Because they just did an inspection. I don't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now will you come back in and help us to become compliant? One area that the Ministry of Labor Chief Prevention Officer really wants to focus on here in Ontario is working with small businesses. 85% of the businesses in Ontario have less than 10 employees. Those small businesses are just focusing on keeping the doors open, the lights on, and their employees paid, and trying to make some profit.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have time to research and understand what this is all about. That's where companies like myself, and there's lots of us out there that are doing a really good job helping them to be able to understand what their requirements are, mm-hmm. and to help them through the training.
So the first things a company should do when they see this interview is maybe either call yourself or call the Ministry of Labor. Is it Labor?
You can call the Ministry of Labor.
Yeah.
It's 1-877-202-0008. These folks have been well trained, and they're very. One of the things that the changes in the law have happened is that the Ministry of Labor inspectors have been encouraged to be more supportive and cooperative in helping small businesses, rather than just primarily their job is to enforce the Occupational Health and Safety Act. But we also feel, and so does the government, that they should be more available for people as well to answer questions.
Well, Ken, thanks for coming. It's important information. Let's hope this summer we won't have anyone killed, but they probably will be killed.
We're working, all of us are working as hard as we can to be out of work.
Yeah, good for you. All right, so please hire qualified people, would you? It's a matter of, no kidding, it's a matter of life and death. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.